JB here. Hope everyone's doing on Sunday, Monday, November 10th, 3:32 on this fine afternoon. Talk really quick about the market. Some names I'm looking at go from there. S&P in the green up 1.5% on hopes of, sorry, an end to the government shutdown. We didn't sell off 1.5% when when the government shutdown started. So it's just funny how that all kind of works. I just find it comical, but I hope it gets ended. It's still some hurdles to cross, right? It's not like tomorrow they'll vote and it's all canceled. People they got to fly back and Wednesday, Thursday, maybe who knows, Friday. But just the specter hope, I think that's good enough. And then just hopefully this all gets resolved. And then we'll move on to the next possible market headwind, whatever that may be. So take a look at the SPY. Talk about 679 being that key spot. Once we broke through that, it was like a hot knife through butter. Got all the way up to 682, and we're right at highs here. So to me, I mean, the good sign here, and I hate gaps, is that we held the morning. It was like a small little blip, and then boom, off to the races. So good stuff here. I mean, the only negative thing, I wouldn't say only negative, but I would love to see yields going down, but the yields are higher. It's funny they talk about the government shutdown. Oh, uncertainty with government shutdown. You would think that would bear, or at least be positive for risk off assets. When the government shut down, gold should have rallied. Instead, it sold off, and now today is the day it rallies. But I'll talk about that in a second. Not going to talk about too much here. Just quick on some trades here. First, obviously, I'll talk about SolarEdge, just like a monster one today. Well, wait, support resistance 670. Excuse me, 679 on SPY. So watch that tomorrow. Maybe it's consolidation. You can't rule out new all-time highs on the S&P in the coming week or two. All right, so just quick on individual names. Obviously, first SolarEdge. What a monster! No news, no catalyst, no upgrade, no anything. Just continuation from Friday's. I wouldn't even call it a rally, right? The stock reversed morning lows on Friday and held up and then closed green on Friday. So nothing crazy. And I keep looking at it. I was saying it last week too. I'm like, solar, it might be $50. So I went and got those. I was already holding the 45s for this week. I went and got the 50s for the following week. And then boom, off the race. It wasn't even like a quick rally. It was into 41s and 42. Uh, I think by noon hours, 45, and they just kept going. And it was all the way up at 48.60 just a little while ago. The difference between today and some of the other days on solar is there's no big pull. And knock on wood, of course, it just pulled a buck 80 since about 3:30. But here's a name, like I look at, I'm like, is it going to go to 50? Is it going to go to 75? Can you rule out going 100 before the year's out? Could it get some FOMO? And we've seen some of these energy names just go bonkers over the last couple months, 2025 alone. So I mean, you take a look at its market cap relative to its revenues. I was two something billion, was 50 million. I think it's 50 something million shares outstanding. So uh, you talk about $100 stock that makes a $5 billion company. It does $1 billion in revenues. I just running things over in my head just really quick. It's not, it's not a science, right? I mean, people look at it. It's not a fundamental story yet, but just to me, and then I look at it, I'm like, there's a possibility this thing continues to go. So uh, just been loading the calls. So at first I'm like, okay, so I lock some of the 45s in, then I start getting some more strikes. Got the 50s for next week. Um, I had the 50s already coming into this week for the following week. So I got those. I went and got the November 28th. And then I'm like, okay, if there's really craziness, the January strikes go bonkers. So I went and got the January strikes. And then it's just kind of like harvesting. And usually I do these trades and I harvest a couple days later. I'm harvesting trades intraday on SolarEdge. So monster since last week's earnings. Trades like this, like if I just got the calls last week and held, and hold is always the hardest part. I mean, can make your week, can make your make your year. So not ruling out that doesn't have continuation, could still do that. And it's been a monster, depending how you position. If you follow me on any of these trades, it's hard to have not got a position unless you just got calls at 2:30 today to not be up a couple hundred or a couple thousand% on calls over the last, whether it be today, Friday. So excuse me. So that's kind of the thought process there. Again, this chart, once it broke 42, I had it on the watch list. I'm like, I'm going to add more strikes, and boom, that was it. So let's see if I can post it here. I mean, you see it here, and then you start looking at the further out, and like I was saying, doesn't mean it's going back to $300, but you start looking at some of these areas back in 2024 as it gets to $75, to get to 100, and then the wild card there is the shorts. I mean, I hate to use shorts as a reason to hold something, but it could certainly create some continuation. So I'm out of breath here. Sorry about that, folks. So that's SolarEdge. So then on to Reddit. I got those calls at the end of the day. Well, not the end. I think I got them at 12 or 1 o'clock on Friday. 220, 250s. And I think the stock was at 190 when I got them. And then it melted, closing 194, and then gapped this morning, 200 bucks. Excuse me. And then the strikes weren't gaining premium. And then finally got up to 205 or so, finally got some premium, locked some in for 100%, locked some more in for 150%. I'll just hold the rest. Then, thinking that I keep talking about this news. At some point, you have to think it's going to happen before the year's out. There'll be some either a renewed deal, an up deal, a new partnership, or with one of these AI names, whether it be Anthropic or OpenAI redoes the deal. It's going to happen at some point. And when it does, I think you got to think Reddit's going to trade substantially higher. I think it trades substantially higher regardless. So I don't want to be in a spot where I'm not in calls for next week. So I got those later dated strikes. They were almost up 100% at the highs here. So I'll just continue to hold those. And that's Reddit. And then finally added some more serve strikes. So I'm still holding, thankfully, on that big move up in serve. Let's see if I don't have the chart here. Of course, here it is. Excuse me. Thankfully, back in October, and then some of the other trades in serve over the last couple of months, I was able to lock freebies with profits. So still holding later strikes on serve, just a couple strikes, but I want to be in with completely nothing lower on serve. So I went and got some of those December strikes. The plan here, and the report Wednesday after the close, is to lock some in to cover some costs. If it gets over 11 tomorrow, and the thing with serve, I mean, you can see what happened here today. Gapped all the way above 11, melted into the 11 o'clock hour, down to 1040. Bouncing here, it's pretty much flat as a pancake. It's tough to trade intraday. It's had these dollar 50 swings, no news, no catalyst. So unless you're trying to time a top or bottom, it doesn't make sense. That's not how I trade. So add those December strikes. I'll look to take some off maybe tomorrow if I get a chance, and possibly add some more strikes there. That's Serve Robotics. Roku, I was looking at some more strikes there all the way up to 106. I'll just, still have some strikes, some freebies with profits, just holding a couple of those strikes pre-earnings, and the 115s, I'll just continue to hold those. And then just Lemonade. So, at some point, I think this trade's $100, and looked like it was gonna have a breakout. It was getting close to $80 earlier today. I still have those November 29, those November 90s, November 21st. So I went and add some 100 strikes. Maybe trades around here for a couple of days, then breaks out. Maybe breaks out tomorrow. I don't want to be chasing it. So, and then on the flip side, still have the last in the 90s with profits. So I'll lock some of those out when I get a chance. Morgan Stanley maintained. I don't even know what they did today. So that's Lemonade. And then some other names. I made SanDisk, crazy stuff. I mean, like a week and a half ago it was $180. 3 weeks ago, maybe it was $100. It's another one of those names, like things that boggle my mind. $20 billion company, or it used to be. Now it's whatever, nearly 45 or whatever. Here's a company that size that the market's still trying to do price discovery on it, right? It's just crazy that the market has it wrong to the tune of 100% of its valuation in a month. So again, I talk about the oh crap or oh shit basket. At some point, I'll have those names together. That when we do have some kind of pull, SanDisk probably gonna be one of those names. The Seagates, Western Digitals, and so on and so forth. Trying to think of some of the other names. AppLovin. Look at that today. Yeah, 269. So why don't I have this here? I don't have the right tickers. It was 666 earlier today. Looks like that was the highs of the day. But some of these other names, Duolingo, I don't want to look at Duolingo. Maybe wait for the dust to settle. At some point, I'll revisit that. And I think that's it, folks. Have a great day. I'll be back. Rock and roll.